Okay, I might get started and people can join us while I'm doing the introduction. So kia ora everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our first Midday Masterclass of 2026. I was just talking to Mel, it's so exciting to actually do it virtually online because it means people from different parts of the country or area can join us, which is fantastic. So today we have Mel Curwood talking to us about getting paid without the chase, the practical cash flow reset for business owners. So I know that cash flow is a big thing for many small businesses. So we can't wait to hear what she's got to say. These Midday Masterclass series are for our members to help members. So if you are a member and you have something you think you can share or give to others, please do feel free to reach out because we've got other spots cropping up all the time. Today, we're joined by Mel Curwood. Mel is a business cash flow and resilience specialist. She's based in the South Waikato. And what have I got here? Mel's a business-based owner, a Waikato-based business owner and cash flow strategist with over 7 years of hands-on experience helping SME owners get paid faster, protect their income, and build more resilient business. Now, Mel would like to offer a bit more of an interactive session today rather than just a listening webinar. So if you feel comfortable with that, we'd love to have your cameras on, especially when you're talking. You are able to unmute yourself if you've got a question to ask. And I know Mel's going to ask a few questions. So please do feel free to, be a bit interactive with this webinar. But I'll hand over to Mel now, who will take the reins from here.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. So I would love it, before I share my screen, we get kicked in, if we could, for those that feel comfortable, if we could see some friendly faces, that would be really, really appreciated. So I'll just give you a quick 10 seconds to turn your cameras. There we go. Thanks, John. Who else have we got in there? We've got some people possibly eating lunch, and I understand that's totally fine as well. Oh, Kiani, thank you. There we go. All right, guys, if we can, and honestly, don't worry about eating on camera. We're all human. We've all got to eat. But as you'll see, I really believe that learning is all about being engaged and learning from one another. So this is going to be a little bit different, and it'll make the time go really fast. We're going to have a blast. Cool. How many other people are going to turn their camera on? You can turn it on when you're comfortable, but I will call you out to start speaking and introducing yourselves in a little moment, if that's okay. So let me just quickly share my screen so I can bring up this presentation for you. Bear with me for 2 seconds. All right. Can I please just get some thumbs up if everybody can see my screen? We're all good? Okay. So welcome to today's training or today's workshop, all about how to get paid without the chase. And it's set to be a practical cash flow reset for business owners and leaders. Okay, now is it going to just let me go through my next? There we go. Here we are. So this workshop is a practical reset for business owners who are tired of feeling like they sometimes get treated like a bank. I'm sure that sounds familiar, way too familiar to a lot of us. And it's designed to give attendees the tools and confidence to take control of their payment process, reduce financial risk, and stop working for free without losing their clients or compromising service, all while setting the foundation for a healthy, thriving business, which is, at the end of the day, what we all want, really. So, see if I can get that to go onto my next screen. My goal for today is to give you a sneak peek behind the curtains into how powerful credit control knowledge, clarity, capability, and confidence can be for you, your business, and your cash flow. We will only be able to scrape the surface of potential today. However, if you internalize what you learn today, digest the insights, and practice what you learn, you will gain great launching pad from our time together. So hopefully that sounds pretty appealing. Okay, as I've mentioned already, learning is not a spectator sport. So this is about an interactive engagement. Share as much or as little as you like, and we're going to really get to know each other a little bit better. But that being said, it's really important that we set some house rules. So what is said here stays here. If you've got a question, you're welcome to stick it in the question box or raise your hand. That's no problem whatsoever. Share at your own comfort level. Respect the time and each other. Let's keep answers short so that everybody who wants to speak gets a chance. Okay, so I have here with me a list of people's names. So if it's okay, as I call your name, can I ask you to just introduce yourself with these 4 points? So I'd like you to please introduce yourself by your name, your business name, industry, and how long you've been in business. So I've got a list here. I'm just going to call it out randomly. So if we can start with Will, is Will on the in the class?
Yes, I'm here.
Fire away.
I work for Industry Growth Partners. So we are a group of companies that work in the heavy diesel and engineering industry, and
Yep.
I've been here for about 2.5 years now.
Beautiful. All right, Emma. Do we have Emma? We might not have Emma. Okay, Scott. We got Scott. Okay, we don't have Scott. I should note this down as I go. Do we have Chris? No, Chris?
I will assume that's me. I'm Chris. I'm from MBP Advisors. We're an accounting firm across the Waikato. And this is our 10th year in business.
Fabulous. Well done, Chris. Thank you. Now, Divya. Is Divya on board? Nope, that's okay. Fiona. Do we have Fiona?
Hi, I'm Fiona. I'm here with my colleague Isaac. We work at Chloe Douglas, law firm in Hamilton, and we have been in business. It's not our business, by the way. We've been in business for 8 years.
8 years. Perfect. Thank you, Fiona. All right, Georgia Morrison. Georgia.
Hi, I'm Georgia. I'm from Mata Digital. We work in mostly website development and digital marketing and design, but we kind of have our fingers in anything that is to do with the digital landscape. The business has been going for a long time, but I've been part of it for 6 years.
Welcome. Thank you. Okay, Dal. Do we have Dal Hart? Nope. Kiani, I know you're here.
Hey, I just had to move rooms. So, yes, I'm Kiani. I'm from a different lens where I'm from South Waikato Investment Fund Trust or SWIFT, and really here just to support Mel. And she's also from South Waikato, and just really getting to know everyone else as well. So thank you.
Thanks, Kiani. Awesome. Do we have Liz Stiggin? Nope. Okay. Teresa. Do we have Teresa Devine? Nope. All right. Angela. Do we have Angela March? Nope. That's okay because people are probably going to jump in as they arrive, which is totally fine too. Do we have Tryson Myers?
Hi, I'm Tryson. I'm from a company called a Sweefer, and we do machinery licensing, forklifts, diggers, loaders, all that. Company's been going 25 years. I've been involved for about 10.
Fabulous. Thanks for joining us. John, I know you're there. John, can you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm John Pujol. So I run a house painting business in Auckland City Painters, and been doing that for about 13, 14 years.
Fabulous, thank you. And Fred, do we have Fred Masika?
Yes, and I'm Fred, Auckland. I work with SiteSafe, and SiteSafe have been more than 25 years, and we are in the industry in construction, giving advisory service training as well as audits, and the business has been here for more than 25 years. So,
beautiful. Thank you, Fred. Welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Annabelle, do we have Annabelle Jerome?
Kia ora, everyone. I'm from Upward Spiral. We do training and coaching around the mental health and wellbeing space in the workplace, especially mental health first aid.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Rachel, do we have Rachel Salmon?
Hi, I'm Rachel. I come from Sidell. We do adhesives and sealants distribution, and we've been in business about 60 years.
Fabulous. Old timer. Cherie, do we have Cherie Old with us?
She is at a funeral.
Okay, thank you. Raj, do we have Raj here? No? How about Madden?
Kia ora everyone. I'm Madan. Sorry, I'm unable to turn on my camera
That's okay. We'll trust that you're handsome.
as my computer doesn't have one. Sorry for that. Yeah.
That's okay.
As I said, my full name is Madan Joga Nageshwar Rao. Business name is Milky Foods Limited, and we are doing dairy products. We are exporting ghee and butter almost like 30 plus countries, and this business operates more than 10 years now.
Beautiful. Beautifully done. Thank you, Madan. And Leanne. Do we have Leanne? No. Jenny from the Waikato Chamber. Did you manage to make it on board?
I did, everyone. Hey, welcome.
Welcome.
And hello. Sorry, I haven't got my camera on. My setup's not quite right at the moment.
You're all good.
I'm from the Waikato Chamber of Commerce, commercial manager. We've been in business or operating since 1906. So officially the reptile in the room. And it's lovely to be here, and I know a few familiar faces.
Fabulous. Thank you, guys. Okay. So just really quickly before I carry on, is there anybody that whose name I haven't called? If you could just unmute yourself and introduce yourself, that would be really great. Nope, we've got everyone. Fabulous. Okay, let's move on. Good job, everyone. Well done. Nice to have you. Okay, so let's talk about what it takes to be in business. So business owners know what it's like to stand on the cliff of the unknown, to stare into the darkness and have that moment when they think to themselves, I don't know if I can do this. Nothing's guaranteed. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to fail, but they take that step and they go into business anyway. But it's not easy. I mean, it's way tougher, I think. Is anybody here that finds business easy? It's pretty tough. I've had a number of different times where business owners have said to me, if I've known how hard it was going to be, I would never have gone into business for myself. And that's just a sad reality. It's tough. So then why, if it's so tough, why do we do it? So at the end of the day, we want to own our own time. We want to build something for ourselves, and we want to be financially independent. But we all know the old saying, cash flow is king. If we don't have cash flow, we don't have business. And lack of cash flow is the number one reason why many businesses fail within the first 5 years. So let's go ahead now and have a little bit of a discussion. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, as it were, which is that the last few years in business have been a real roller coaster. So if you feel comfortable, and I'll just call through the names of people that I know that are here, in just 1 or 2 sentences, can you describe the impact you've seen in your company or in your business of the economic situation, particularly over the last couple of years? And I can kickstart. So for example, one thing that I've observed is last year in particular, there was a big increase of liquidations in the marketplace, which saw a real flow-on effect into the subcontractors down the line, which was really difficult. So if everyone's happy for me to just call your name, and if you can just give me 1 or 2 sentences around what you've seen as a personal impact for your business or your industry would be great. So let's start with Will.
Sorry, let's just take that off mute.
That's okay. Go for it.
Yeah, so I guess the money go around's really slowed down over the past couple of years. Like trying to get money out of debtors has become a real problem. I think over 2 years ago, we didn't spend that much time on it, and now it's become quite a big task, and obviously a lot of liquidations, so a lot of bad debts going through the books. I mean, we just found out today that someone who owes us $30,000 is going into liquidation. So
yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, that's huge. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, thank you for sharing that. That's really meaningful. Chris, can I borrow you for a moment and ask you the same question?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's our workload, like especially in the last sort of 18 months, has really been trying to help our clients that are also having cash flow problems. And then you get that difficulty of being like, I kind of know how difficult you're having it. So then how hard do I push you to actually get money from you, because then you sort of like, you don't want to be the straw that breaks the camel's back and sort of pushes them to just sort of like give up or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely that's that sort of fine balance of kind of being like, okay, I want to get paid for the work we're doing, but I don't want to
throw you over the edge.
Yeah, I don't want to sort of push you over the edge and be like, that
That sucked. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Good share. That's awesome. All right, Fiona.
So I'll take over for Fiona here. Isaac from Foley Douglas Lawyers here. Yeah, certainly we have noticed that we are having to chase debtors a lot more of the following the economic situation, and that's reflected with our clients. So yeah, a lot of our work for business owners say have been updating terms of trade to make sure they're more robust and putting better debtor policies and the like.
Thank you so much for that. It is quite hard to hear you. It's quite noisy, so we might get you to just pop yourselves back on mute, if that's okay. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Kiani, what have you observed? What have you seen from the businesses that you interact with?
Yeah, I think just from a we have had a number of losses in the South Waikato, and there has that definite flow-on effect. It's not just obviously the business itself; it's then those contractors that feed off of that. So it's been quite devastating having to see that not only from a large organisations, it's just those who support or flow on from those larger ones. So it's been quite devastating in terms of family impact and the like. So yeah.
Beautifully said. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, can I now ask Tryson if you can just share any insights?
Yeah, so we're in the training industry. So when other businesses struggle to get their money in, then it struggles to for the next part of getting training. It's a requirement that they need training. So, but when money's tight, you just can't afford to do that. So yeah, we've definitely noticed over the past little bit that's been slowing down and harder to get from people because they don't have the money to put back into their people at the time being.
I hear you. Thank you, Tryson. John, how about you? What have you found?
Yeah, I think definitely a few things. So one is just the impacts of inflation. So like when we're going and quoting projects, now previously people would get maybe like one or two other quotes. Now people are getting like 5. So they're really counting their pennies, and the competition, like in terms of just becoming so cutthroat. So that's definitely one of the major things I've seen. And then like some of the different people that we work with, like builders who are now like sending us emails like, if you have any little bits of repairs and things on houses that you need to get done, please refer us, because like previously they were doing like renovations and new builds and everything, but that's just all slowed right down. So those are probably the two of the sort of the main things that I've seen.
Thank you, John. That's really insightful, and I'm sorry that that's been the experience. It's tough. Fred, how about you?
For us, we are doing training consultants and also audits. We have seen that when people our clients have some financial flow problems, the first thing to cut is training. Yeah, and also consult. So they just really stay on the core business, and you find that the flow is very, very turbulent. Sometimes you have more people, and there are times when you don't have people. And people, most of the time, they cut back a lot of additional services, which also may have a long-term impact. And the second thing which we have observed is they look into the areas for short-term because they don't know how long-term things will look like. So find that I rather pay my employees and take them to training, because when I pay them, I retain them. But if I train them and maybe there were no jobs, then it means I've lost employees and also I've wasted money because the skills are not being used. So we have seen people get into that logic. And also we've seen some clients cutting corners because it costs to have an auditor or consultant to do some work. So they find that they just cut corners, which now leads to other problems. Yeah.
So scary, Fred, especially in your line
Yeah.
of work. So scary.
Yes.
Okay, Annabelle, may I borrow your brain and ask you what your insights have been?
Yeah, sure. Oh, camera. Yeah, sure. A little bit like Tryson and Fred, I'm in the training business, and I guess just training being seen as a bit of a nice to have rather than an essential component, and just training budgets just really constrained. Yeah.
That's tough. Thank you
Yeah.
for that. Thank you, Annabelle. Rachel, what have you seen with Sedal? Because you've been around for 60 plus years. You've been through, well, the company's been through a lot of ups and downs, but what have you noticed?
I think the last couple of years we operate a lot in the construction industry, which has obviously been a challenging sector. So just less cash around, costs everywhere going up. So for us, our credit control process to make sure we protect ourselves, I guess, from any loss has been quite important.
Yeah, massively. Thank you so much, especially coming from the perspective of a long-term business as well. I appreciate that. As well, can I now borrow Madan? And then I think we'll hear from Jenny and then we'll carry on. But if we can hear from Madan?
Sure. Recently, I would say inflation, which is related to created a cost pressure, and also supply chain challenges, which is tariff and such and such. This is really impacting the planning and profitability. Yeah, yeah.
Thank
Which
you,
is all
guys.
related to cash flow. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
100%. And I think the really valuable perspective about this exercise is to show that everybody's been impacted across all kinds of sectors, and we're a very, very small economy, and it doesn't take much for one sector like your building, to have a flow-on effect into so many other sectors. So let's look after each other and we go through this. Okay. If you're in this training right now, then chances are. Oh, Jenny, I forgot Jenny. Sorry.
Not a problem. What we've seen as a membership organisation is a number of catchphrases. So from 2025, it was what survived 2025, then persist to 2026. I think what we've got this year is probably mixed 2026. What we find is with an election coming up that a lot of businesses put on hold membership. Overall, though, it has been positive, but the last 2 years has been hard on our membership base, which is predominantly made up of 80% SMEs.
Yeah.
And subscriptions are probably one thing that has been dropped, which is membership. So our focus really is, and my intention of attending this webinar is on member retention. We want to keep members.
Perfect. Beautifully said. Did I forget anybody else? And if I did, I apologize, but please feel free to speak up. No? Okay. Okay, cool. So if you're in this training, then right now you may have been recently or at some stage in the past been in survival mode. So you might be in an industry that's high risk. You might carry a lot of responsibilities, and by the nature of being a business leader or a business owner, you're automatically carrying a lot of responsibilities. You might be worried about getting paid. You might be working bloody hard, but not feeling like you're getting anywhere. You might feel like you are tempted to take matters into your own hands. You might feel a little bit embarrassed about the reality of your cash flow. You might feel held to ransom by people who owe you money, which is very common and not good enough. You might not feel like you're great with paperwork. You might have strained relationships either with your teams, your clients, or even personally inside your family relationships. You might feel a little bit sick of being treated like a bank or working for free. And you may just simply have been lucky and want to protect what you've built. So often in business, we've kind of got this ongoing cycle that we work through, right? Let's see if I can move this out of the way. No, I can't. Doesn't want to move. Okay. So you buy the work first and foremost, you've got to go out and fill the pipeline and get the work. Then you've got to go ahead and buy the materials. Then you finish the job and then you get paid and then you start the cycle all over again. So it's this never ending, fill the pipeline, do the work, get paid, etc., etc. And it doesn't take long in business before you end up in a pressure cooker situation. The key thing we want to be able to ask ourselves is, how do you want to spend your time? Do you want to spend your time doing what you love in business and with your spare time, or chasing payments? So note, every business is different. Therefore, your results and your pressures may vary. Who am I? Well, I have been in business for 8 years and I love being in business. I've had the privilege of working side by side with business owners in the trenches for the last 8 years. My role is to help business owners move from financial uncertainty and hidden risks, where they're constantly juggling payments and chasing invoices, to a place of cash flow confidence and security, whether they're aware of the financial vulnerabilities or not. I provide the tools and strategies to protect their business, eliminate cash flow stress, and ensure they're always paid on time. My approach is to shift them from robbing Peter to pay Paul to being in control, profitable, and financially resilient. I continue to invest in myself tens of thousands of dollars to my own training, education, to ensure that when I partner with the right leading service providers and bring the very best solutions to the businesses I serve. So, the following insights and training apply to you whether you are turning over monthly invoices of $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000. So let's talk about money and getting paid. So when we go into business, we kind of have this vision in our brain. It's going to be you send to do a quote gets accepted, you do the work, you send an invoice and you get paid, and you have great work-life balance. So that's kind of what we think business should look like. But in reality, it looks more like this. The customer agrees to do the work. You then are faced with variations, scope creep, and then you might send an invoice, deal with insurance clawbacks, or even worse, deal with haggling or disputes. So let's talk through now, why do people delay or choose not to pay? So the first is that they never intended to pay. So I call these lifestyle debtors. They may be transient, moving from place to place, or service to service, and they just don't care. They ignore you and bury their head in the sand. This is the worst kind in many ways, though, is a customer that gets their own way by bullying, making it so complex that they just let it go because it's too hard and emotionally draining for you to pursue. So you may have had these situations in the past. I hope not, because it's really awful. The next is a disputed situation, when something happens that the customer wasn't expecting. If we don't communicate effectively through any hiccups or changes of plan, then we might find ourselves with a customer saying to us, "I'm not paying your bill, I didn't expect it to cost that much, and I don't think it's fair." Unfortunately, these are the situations that often lead to a disputes tribunal case or the need for arbitration. Now, the third reason why people don't pay is if circumstances arise that are genuinely outside of their control. So this was a perfect example of what happened in COVID, or in particular last year, an economic downturn. So and note, our current model of the way we have our infrastructure set up around how we get paid is where we saw the biggest letdown for us over the last couple of years. The fourth is an imbalance of power. So this is where the bigger clients might say to you, "Here's the job, here's the opportunity, but it's my way or the highway. Either you work in our system and we choose when and how we're going to pay you, or you don't get the job." Sound familiar? So if I can get you all to take a moment to think through a non-payment situation that you've had, and be as general or specific as you like, and let me know if you're happy to share. So if it's okay, and you can tell me either yes or no as I go through. I'm just going to quickly go through the list again just for this, so that we know we're getting everyone a chance to chat. If you don't want to chat, if you don't have an instance, then that's totally fine as well. So did any of these ring a bell for you?
Yeah. I think we do find it pretty challenging at times enforcing pretty minimal credit policy. Like, people will just say to us, standard things like, "Hey, we need a deposit for a job that big." They'll say, "All right, bugger you guys, we'll go somewhere else." And so we don't often have a choice.
Yeah. Yep. That's hard, isn't it? How about you, Chris? What have you seen? What's familiar to you?
I've definitely seen like some of the either the bigger organizations we work with, or like the more sort of like local and central government sort of agencies and stuff seem to be the ones that have been the most difficult for us to, because they're the ones that are sort of like, "Oh no, this is just how we do things."
100%.
Sort of like, well, you've hired us, so you have agreed to our terms. But yeah, it's kind of just like, okay, we'll just sit back and wait. But I mean, and most of those, it's sort of like, okay, well, that's a good customer to have, but we just can't wear it, so we'll walk away, because it's like, I'm not going to wait 90 days or 60 days or whatever to get paid.
Yeah, beautifully articulated, Chris, and probably very familiar to a lot of people here, I'm sure. How about you? Okay, Foley Douglas. It's for some reason when you get you guys to chat, it's very noisy. So I'm happy for you guys to chat, but let's just see how it sounds.
We've switched tech. Sorry about that. We've
Not
got
at
a
all.
problem with the microphones in our boardroom. But yeah, certainly the lifestyle data one rang true. We've certainly experienced a few people that don't pay as a matter of course, but yeah, certainly noticed with the recent circumstances and the downturn that it is more often people that just have cash flow issues and can't pay at the time themselves. So we have had to enter into more arrangements with third-party funders and the like, and try to find solutions to ensure we're both getting what we need there. Yeah.
Perfect. Beautifully said. And I think that's the thing. Sometimes, we might be sitting behind, a paintbrush or a spade, and we might presume that a white collar space has it all sorted and that they're all okay, but it's actually not the case. Business is business, and we all face the same problem. So thank you guys for sharing that insight. That's really appreciated. Kiani, have you ever had clients or people that you've come in interaction with where you've come across this, whether it be a bully or just people are being ghosted or feeling like they're being held to ransom by people telling them they have to work their way if they want the job?
There we go. Not in with the space that I'm in. I don't. So I don't have a lot of insight. But what I want to say is that I'm really interested in hearing what everyone has been saying, because it just gives real insight to what's actually happening on the ground. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiani. And that's exactly why I like to make these experiences interactive, because you will learn more from each other than you will ever learn from me, because the reality is that we're isolated in business sometimes. So it's important to get together and share each other's experiences. So thank you for that, Kiani. Tryson, what would you say sounds familiar to you?
Yeah, definitely like delayed payments of larger companies for us wanting to put off or delay or add it or roll it into something else. And then our two main streams of clients are the companies, and then also individuals just off the street that come to get training. And we've had to start doing like deposits and then larger deposits, or now it's in a lot of cases, you have to come pay for your training before you even come onto the course. You can't pay on the day. You have to do it beforehand, because we just get people with non-payments. I can't pay today, I'll pay so and so. And then pretty hard to get payment off someone who has received the training. They've got everything they want, and then they're like, they don't work for a company or anything like that. They'll just go off, and so it can be quite tricky there.
Beautifully said. And again, I'm sure everybody that can resonate with everybody, the novelty's worn off. They don't give a shit anymore. So thank you, Tryson. John, what have you found? What's been the most familiar to you?
Yeah, so like 90% of our work is with individual homeowners, and about 10% is like business to business.
Perfect.
And I find that's that 10% that are usually the problematic ones, where
an
invoice doesn't get paid, and then you chase it up and they say, well, that's going to get paid when we process our payments on such and such date. Or that's not what I agreed to. So yeah, same what someone else was saying, that but despite having all your payment terms and the terms and conditions that they signed up to, they seem to think they work according to their own rules. So
100%. Thank you for being honest about that, John. That's really appreciated. How about you, Fred? What have you seen at SiteSafe? In your experience, have you come across anything that feels familiar here?
Yes, because most of the time, as the previous person said, you do the job, you deliver, but they don't pay on time. And sometimes if you push a little bit further, you can create animosity between you and the client. And sometimes you pull back, so you're thinking that maybe in the future they may give you business. At the moment, I don't want to break. I don't want to burn the bridge, but at the same time, you burn your own financial cash flow.
Perfect.
So it's like you are in the hard rock and a hard place in the rock, and it's like, yeah. So that's what we experience. It's not very comfortable, but sometimes we go through, yes.
Yeah, but well articulated. Thank you for saying that. That relationship aspect is actually something that I'm sure is on everybody's mind. So thank you. How about you, Annabelle? Have you found any of these situations ring a bell?
I think she left. Yeah.
She left? That's okay. Thanks, guys. Okay, how about you, Rachel? Are we still here?
I am still here.
Good girl.
I think probably the one that I think of as a larger company, I guess a bit of power imbalance, and they had a situation with their system changeover, which meant it just held up payment to suppliers, and there was just nothing we could do.
Yeah.
We just had to hold tight and wait until they decided to pay us.
Yeah. Yeah,
So that was
exactly.
tough going.
Yeah, it's a common thread here, isn't it? That power imbalance aspect. How about you, Madan? What have you found? I mean, you guys are in, supply chain, so it's tricky for you guys, and you're dealing with a consumable product. So tell me about what you found.
Yeah, we are in a safe space, I would say. We have a principle like we don't make order unless we receive advance, and we don't deliver unless we receive full payment. So this is our rule,
Perfect.
and since we do exports, we are following this principle.
Perfect. I like your thinking. And, I think a lot more people need to realize that that's an option. So good job. Okay. How about you, Jenny? What's been your experience across, you mentioned some of the challenges. What have you sort of seen in this space?
Ours is really probably the timeliness
Yeah.
and making sure that it's getting to the right person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we haven't had any issues of bullying. We probably have a couple that are on 60-day terms, but they're quite limited.
Yeah.
And we did have one scenario where we did maybe have a bad debt coming up, but it was perseverance that got us the money eventually.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Jenny. And thank you, everybody, because I know it can feel a bit vulnerable sometimes sharing the reality, but I think it's actually really, really important that we all understand that these are very familiar threads of problems that we are going to be addressing here today. So thank you, everybody. Okay, so how do the SMEs in New Zealand function as a bank? Most small to medium businesses in New Zealand operate on credit by default, so that means that you provide your services in advance of getting paid. And that often means the 20th of the month following, while the reality becomes 30 or 60-day terms or even longer if you're dealing with large corporates, councils, government contracts. In effect, SMEs are funding their clients' cash flow during that period with no guarantee of payment until the invoice clears. The scale of exposure, on the converse side of it, the opportunity for positive change. SMEs make up 97% of the New Zealand business and contribute to about a quarter of the GDP. Trade credit is globally recognised as one of the largest sources of business financing in many countries. It's bigger than bank lending. While New Zealand doesn't publish a single aggregate figure, international data shows that in economies of a similar size, outstanding trade receivables easily runs into the tens of billions. So this is just money that's being invoiced out at any given time. So that could be in New Zealand something like 420 billion in 2025 waiting to be paid at any one time. So has anybody seen, who have we got in the accounting world? Did you guys seen these Xero stats before? Does sound familiar? Okay. So Xero's analysis put the annual cost of late payments for Kiwi small businesses at $456 million in 2021. So this is not the previous figure where we talked about how much was on invoice at any one time. This is the actual fiscal cost. In 2021 was $456 million. Now in 2023, just 2 years later, we saw that cost of that rise to $827 million. Those costs, according to Xero, are made up of your admin time, the financing costs, so your costs for bridging finance and dealing with overdrafts, as well as lost opportunities. So if this trend reported continued by 2025, which I'm sure it did, in fact, I'd be fairly certain that it would have, that in the year 2025, this would have exceeded well over $1 billion in cost. Now, that's a lot of money to a very small country. So here's something that's really interesting. A few of us have talked about the big players and having to pay by their rules. So not that we're villainizing anyone here, but I think it's really important to have these insights. The New Zealand government had acknowledged this in 2023 with the Business Payment Practices Bill, that late and extended payment terms imposed on SMEs are a systemic issue, harming their cash flow. Debt collection and credit management agencies exist at scale precisely because of the unpaid receivables. The problem is worth such a substantial amount across the SME sector. Case studies show one large unpaid contract can expose dozens of SMEs to 6 or 7 figure losses. So this is when I come back to talking about the flow-on effect of the liquidations we saw in the marketplace last year. One business gets a hit and every other business downstream from them gets impacted. So let's just have a look at what was an attempted remedy. So the Businesses Payment Practices Act 2023 was specific to New Zealand. It was introduced by the New Zealand government in 2023 to deal with the long-standing issue of big companies and agencies taking too long to pay SMEs. The idea was to create a public register where large businesses, those that turn over $33 million, would have to report on their average payment times. However, it never came into force. It was repealed in March 2024 before it even began. Instead, the government pivoted to encouraging a goodwill, faster payment by public agencies and supporting an industry-led voluntary approach. So I don't know what that says, but I do know in other countries like the UK, they have those legislations and businesses do have to report on how quickly they pay. We're just behind the times. So what can we do about it? We have to look at what is best practice credit management. And how do we make sure we get the money through the door and into your bank account where it belongs? So the 20th of the following month, where does it come from? So we have this kind of inherited legacy system and we just assume that that's the way you do business, but here's the reality of where it comes from. In the olden days, we used to do manual accounting. I remember my mum had the old books out with all the lines in them and she'd sit there and do all of the accounting. Then what she would do is she would send her invoices via the post. Snail mail would then deliver those invoices to their customers. The customer would then take their time to reconcile all of those accounts. Then they'd write a check, send that check in the post. Then you'd have to take that money to the bank, that check to the bank, and wait up to 7 days or more for that to clear. That is exactly why we have the 20th of the following month as a long tail payment program. And of course, it lines up with all of our agricultural sectors, but that's where it originally comes from. So, and the thing is, the 20th of the month is this golden figure, but the reality is it's more like 20 to 50 days or even longer that you're waiting to get paid. So here's the reality that the bigger the gap between you doing work and getting paid, the bigger the risk. So if we can get you paid faster, we keep you and your business a lot safer. So you are not a free credit facility for your customers. Truthfully, the best debt prevention tool you have at your disposal is to not provide credit. So Madan, that's the space you've moved into, right? Because the risk is just too high.
True. Yep.
So if I had my way, in an ideal world, it would look like this. You do the quote, you send an invoice, you get paid, you do the work, and then you continue to grow your profitability from there. However, there's a big gap to bridge. How do we get from where we're at to where this glossy, bright future is? So we need to look at what is best practice credit management. So all of these things have been touched on, but I think as we, as a collective of SMEs, start to look at what's fair and what's unfair, we can start to identify just one or two key areas in our own practices and our own businesses where we can reduce some of the risk and get paid a little bit faster. So a lot of you touched on asking for a deposit. So this might be invoiced when you're ready to order the supplies or a booking confirmation. The best time to talk about deposits is when you first engage with your client. It just becomes part of the onboarding process, part of the where to from here. Invoice faster. So this is one of my key pet peeves. Can I just ask, how many businesses invoice straight away? Or if you can, actually I can't even see everybody, but there's actually still quite a lot of businesses I know that only they do batch invoicing once a month. And I understand from an administrative perspective that that can be just the way that it works best for your business. However, if you invoice faster, this becomes a case of striking while the iron's hot. The customer's happy, you've just solved their problem and provided a great experience. So if you send the invoice ASAP, then no more invoicing at the end of the month, your customer will actually thank you. I don't know if any of you have ever been in the situation where you've had a repair person come to your home and they do a great job for you and all you want to do is pay them and you end up feeling like you're chasing them for the invoice just so you can pay them. So a shorter due date. The bigger the gap between you when you provide your services and when you get paid, the more likely that your client is going to not pay you. Even in business and commercial situations, give your clients the opportunity to pay you faster. So what am I talking about here? So if we can understand that if we invoice faster, we might be surprised at the number of businesses that will pay us straight away. So if we can get that process a lot smoother in our systems, I think that's going to help some of our cash flow issues. So what's the flow-on effect? If we can operate in an economy or in a scenario where everybody's operating cash flow positive, then we move away from what we saw as the biggest issue of last year, which is that whole, I can't pay you because I haven't been paid, and everybody is paying as they go. But here's the reality. We can't just suddenly say to our customers, no, I want everything paid in advance. But one thing that we can start to think about is that if you must be treated like a bank, in other words, provide your services in advance of getting paid, then we need you to think and act more like a credit provider. Because quite often we think this is just how we do business, but we need to put our credit management hat on. We need to make sure you're doing your due diligence and making sure, just like a bank would, are your clients worthy of your credit? Do you have any legally enforceable agreements in place? And if there's a non-payment, what leverage do you have? Do you have any security interest in that relationship? So 4 fundamental principles that when done well and consistently will have an enormous impact on your business. Number 1, know your clients. The best way to deal with a lifestyle debtor is to avoid them. I have to tell you, it's scary, the fact that most businesses do not do credit checks. And so if we're not credit checking, we're not credit reporting, then we are continuing to teach our clients bad behavior. Number 2, set the stage. Use the right documents to gather the information you need and ensure you are dealing with the right person. So it takes 5 seconds to have a look at the company's office and make sure that the company that they say that you're dealing with is the correctly registered company. Remember, legal entities are the ones that you need on your documents. The rules of the game, ensuring that everyone is on the same page by setting up roles and responsibilities. And number 4, simple but very powerful, always be communicating. Quality communication at all times. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly check at the time before I ask some more questions. Okay, we're just going to quickly go through with a yes or no, if you don't mind, if everyone's happy in sharing about who does or doesn't actively use terms of trade. Will, do you guys have terms of trade that you use in your business?
Yes, we do.
Chris, how about you?
Yep.
Excellent. And Fiona, oh, of course you guys would. I mean, surely.
Yep.
Good one. And Kiani, I mean, I'm sure you guys have member documents and things like that. Tryson, how about you guys? You have contracts that you use with your customers?
Yep.
Very good. John, how about you?
Yeah, we do.
Cool. Fred?
Cash on delivery, because sometimes when customers, they say, we don't know the quality of the product, we must see first. So we say, yep, we agree. But also if you immediately, when the product is being delivered or service delivered, and you agree to quality, you pay on delivery. So because when some of them, they don't like prepaid, they think maybe, okay, I'll pay you. What if you're going to be a cowboy? So you say, okay, we trust you, we'll do the job. But immediately when the job is completed, you pay us on the spot. So everyone is prepared. So when you sign off, you prepare, you have the money aside, you put the money aside, I finish the job to the standards, you pay my money, off I go.
Perfect. So none of that 20th of the following month's long tail payment systems. I like it. Okay, and Annabelle, she's gone, right? How about you, Rachel? How you guys obviously would have good terms set up with your clients?
We do, yes.
Perfect. And Madan, how about you? Do you use terms of trade?
Basically, we don't have a contract or agreement, but we send a quote, and based on the advance payment, we will take the order.
Okay.
Otherwise, no. And our due date for the invoice will be the same date. When the manufacturer is ready, good to go, same day we will send an invoice, and there is no due date. Once customer paid, the goods will be delivered along with the documents, delivery goods. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. And Jenny, I'm guessing that you guys also have like membership contracts and things like that?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So just a quick question to ask yourself in relation to your terms of trade, when we some insights is that terms of trade set out the roles and responsibilities, but they also provide a legal framework that enables you to avoid lifestyle debtors, recover debt, deter non-payments, and reduce disputes with your clients. Terms of trade are far beyond when and how your customers are expected to pay. They include everything from dealing with warranties and defects, variations, protecting your assets, becoming a secured creditor through things like PPSR, how you deal with insurance and limitation of your liability on a job. Terms of trade become a vehicle for good communication, ensuring that you're speaking the same language and to get everyone on the same page and having the same understanding. However, just like a seatbelt, it can't help you if it's not on. So often people have terms of trade, but they might send them with their invoices. They might exist on their website, but they're not actually actively engaged with their clients on a client-by-client basis or a job-by-job basis. So why can't I simply write my own? Just like in your industry, writing your own terms of trade requires a specialist. You wouldn't jump out of a plane with a parachute you made yourself with plans you found on the internet. And I'm pretty sure that Foley Douglas would agree. Do not use AI for your legal stuff. Yes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Come and see us.
Exactly. Okay, do your terms of trade have any holes or gaps? Even if you have existing terms of trade, it's super important that you ask yourself, where did they come from? Who wrote them? How old are they? How long ago were they written? With major legislative changes in place, it is really vital to ensure that your terms of trade are up to date, relevant for your industry. So here's a big one. In 2022, the Fair Trading Act changed. And there were some massive changes that were required legislatively. What that means is that if your terms of trade were written prior to 2022, you probably need to get them updated. And speak to Foley's, I'll sort you out. Okay, cool. As they say, if it's worth doing right. Now let's talk about good communication for healthy cash flow. Having the tough conversation up front. Now, who was it that was talking about this? That was saying that you ask for deposits but customers often say no. Who was talking to me about that? If you could just speak a bit more about that.
That was me.
Yep, fire away.
Yeah, so if it's a larger job, we often ask for deposits, and I mean sometimes it's seamless and people accept it, but quite often we find now they'll just tell us outright no, and if you don't want my work, then they'll just go somewhere else. So yeah, we don't really hold any power in that space unless they want to be reasonable and work with us. But it has been quite a challenge.
And I see what you're saying, that the risk that we see with businesses here, it's like the whole achy tooth thing, is if we make our default to not ask for deposits because it's been tough with some customers, then we just end up creating a structure within our business that ultimately doesn't serve us. So I get where you're coming from. When you've been burnt once, it makes you shy. Yeah, I completely hear what you're saying. Okay. So, myth, many business owners avoid upfront payment conversations because they feel awkward or worry about pushing clients away. The truth, your best clients will respect clear payment expectations. Your worst clients will take advantage of any vagueness that you have in place. How to have constructive conversations about payment. Frame it as a standard business practice. Anchor expectations before work starts. Make it official in writing. Don't rely on verbal agreements. Document everything in your terms of trade. So, the tiny shift that changes everything. If we simply insert one additional step into the client journey. So after building the relationship, scoping out the work, and after the agreement, practice saying, from here, one of my team will send you through a summary of what we've discussed, including pricing. Have a read through and let me know if there's anything that needs adjusting. Once the work is completed, we'll walk through together. If you're happy, it's payment on completion. That's it. So this is talking about getting paid faster. You can also build into that conversation. So from here, the conversation is that we're going to send you through the quote of what we've talked about. Let me know if you have any questions. And then from there, we're going to send you an invoice for the deposit. So it's just a matter of framing it as a customer service, clarity, conversation, rather than something that feels like a barrier. So I want to ask some more opinions about the deposit thing. So is there anybody else out there that's had difficulty when asking for deposits on their workmanship? Okay, no, that's fine. But
we did,
yep.
I was just trying to find my unmute button.
Fire away.
We did that sort of something like in the last year with the fact that we've been working with a lot of companies that were struggling. We then sort of said, okay, well, we can estimate that it's probably going to be, say, $10,000 worth of work over the next 8 months or whatever. Pay us $5,000 in advance now so that we kind of know at least I've got something, and then we'll do the work, and then we can invoice you for the balance or what the difference and stuff once we get sort of to the end of it. And that's been the best way that I've sort of helped to mitigate some of those riskier clients. But yeah, it is a difficult conversation to have, because you're kind of asking somebody that is struggling in their own business, but it's kind of like, you know, maybe if they came to the webinar, they might be able to put themselves in a better position.
I love it. Now, I know, again, I'm going to pick on our lawyers here. So I know that one of the models that lawyers often use is they will use an escrow account.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that,
yes,
so
yeah,
talk about that.
yeah, so we in certain circumstances we will require funds to be paid in advance on a retainer basis, so that we've got surety for fees in our account. So to add further on that, we have to obviously issue an invoice before we collect those fees, and we have certain rules about how we have to be careful in that regard. But we certainly do in circumstances require fee payment up front, and then issue invoices and progress updates accordingly.
Perfect, thank you. And I think the thing that's really interesting here, guys, is that we seem to have all of these split rules about under which circumstances we're happy to pay up front and in which circumstances we're not. You know, if we go to the supermarket, we don't fill up our trolley, take it home, and then say we're going to pay you next week. So we just need to make sure that we're bringing, it's just, if we get everybody across all the different sectors together and say, okay, well, I can ask for a deposit, so can you. Or get paid up front, even better, or funds in escrow, whatever's going to work for your clients in terms of them feeling more confident. Okay. We're going to run short on time. We've got 3 more minutes, so I'm going to zoom through this. Okay, PPSR, Personal Property Securities Register. It is part of something called the Personal Property Securities Act. And what it gives you is the ability to register 2 different levels of security in your client relationship. You can register security interests and goods on a client's site. So, for example, if I hire containers onto a work site, as long as those containers are identifiable and I've got security interests registered on them, even if a site goes into liquidation and that site gets shut down, I can go and get my gear off site. So you'll know when a liquidation is happening. Everyone's like, quick, go and get your paint, go and get your hammers, go and get your tools. It's going into liquidation. Well, security interest in your goods on a site enables you to go and collect those goods. The other aspect of it is called a general security agreement, and that's the highest level of security that you can place in another business. It's the same level as a bank. The fact of the matter is that if you're providing your clients with $50, $500, $1 million worth of security, then you need to think like a provider and register security interest at the same level as a bank, because you're providing the same level of risk. Okay, being a secured creditor under PPSR means you're not only securing your financial interest against assets of the business owns, but you're also moving yourself to the top of the queue if a business goes into liquidation, making it far more likely you'll get paid what you're owed instead of being one of the unsecured creditors. On top of that, having a valid PPSR registration protects you from preferential payment clawback. This is a real thing, folks. So basically, if a liquidator goes in and deems that you have been paid in priority over a secured creditor, then they can take that money back off you. Even if you have done the work, paid your clients, everything's been done, they can still come back to you up to 2 years later and take that money back off you. Credit checks, know your clients. As I said earlier, hardly anybody does them. You should start doing them, especially after the last 2 years. Circumstances have changed. Another note is that the IRD does not always disclose non-payments, and IRD were the biggest source of liquidations in the market last year. And there's been a lot more push on the IRD to disclose non-payment, so that when you go and do a credit check, you can make a more educated decision about who you're providing your services to. It's another thing you can do is you can set up alerts so that if there's a change of circumstances in your client's world, that you can be identified and you can change the way you charge your services to those people. Company's office website, it's free. Make sure that they're the right people, that the directors are who they say they are, that the company's name is correct. Trade references, old school, but remember, circumstances have changed dramatically. So if you've got a trade reference from 3 years ago, chances are it's highly out of date. I'm going to wrap this up really fast. I've got 1 more minute. What's the flow and effect of having good credit control process in your business? If you have the right documents, debt prevention and tools, along with great communications, you provide a roadmap to resolution, which leads to trust, meaning more meaningful growth and opportunities to work together. The proper systems, the right strategies become a shield, helping you to identify and deter non-payers, allowing you to focus your time and energy on your fullest and most profitable relationships. Don't panic. I'm here to help. My job now is to make sure you have all the pieces that you need to bring everything together. Noting though, not one size does not fit all. Is your work pre-quoted or estimated? Largely unknown. Is it call out, emergency breakdown? Is it purchase order? Is it a tender? Is it off the shelf? But delivery fees are unknown. When I talk to my clients through the bigger workshops, we run through the transaction journey. So as I said today here, guys, we're just scraping the surface. There's a lot more that we can do to help protect your risk. Having all of the right pieces in play is going to provide you the infrastructure you need to really help your business take off, scale, and thrive. The only way is up. Thank you, guys. We probably don't have time for questions, and I'm a minute overboard. That was a rush to the end. How was that?
You're okay, Mel. If anyone does have any questions, you're welcome to ask them now. Otherwise, you can jump off if you need to go.
Fire away, guys. We're here together.
No questions?
I was just going to bring up, like you mentioned the data from Xero and stuff earlier with the trend of it getting more expensive with the later payment stuff. I did find it quite interesting in the latest Xero Small Business Insights that they said that the late payment days has actually dropped to the lowest since 2017 now.
That's
when they
so
started
exciting.
collecting. But
Yeah.
it still means that on average, a small business is paid 4.5 days late. So
Yeah.
it's still like, almost a week late, but it's a small move in the right direction. But still, when things are going well, it's probably when we need to be setting ourselves up for when they might turn and go worse in the future.
Beautifully said. And that's probably my biggest thing is I do not want, look, things are going to get better, guys. The only way from here is up, but I do not want us to forget the lessons that we've learned or we're going to end up in the same old cycle again. We just can't keep going the way we're going in the business in New Zealand. It's not sustainable. It's not fair. And there is definitely a better way. Any other questions or comments?
I can share something about deposits. So yeah, I probably about a year ago got a lawyer involved and got my terms of trade all sorted. And at that time, she really encouraged me to both get deposit, but also try and get as much of the payment done before you actually completed. So since I've done that, what basically now I get 90% of what's owed for a completion before, not long before, but before the actual job is complete. So then there's only a 10% left.
That's huge.
Yeah, because a lot of the times it can be sometimes there's people can blackmail and things like that. So
hold you to ransom.
Just kind of lowers that risk level.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if others sort of do a similar thing, but that's definitely helped me.
Yeah. And I think it's really important for people to hear that. It's really important for people to know if you can do that, so can they. And it's all about how you position it with your clients. If you've been around in business for a long time, you provide a really good service to the marketplace, you have a really good reputation, you have earned the right to have those uncomfortable conversations up front. And also remember, there's two types of uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable asking for a deposit is one type of uncomfortable, but not getting paid, being held to ransom for your money, is a whole other game of uncomfortable. Does that make sense? All right, any other questions or comments? I'm really conscious of the time. Thank you all for your contributions. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable, and thank you for the insights that you've brought. I really appreciate everyone treating this like an open book session, and hopefully we've provided you with some insights from one another so you can see what's going on, the reality across all the sectors, and hopefully give you a platform to start thinking about how you can make things a bit better for yourself and your business.
Thank you, Mel. We really appreciate your time. And for those still online, we will share Mel's details with you in case you've got more you want to explore, because we only had a short amount of time. And we'll also share a short survey with you as well. And we'll also include our next Midday Masterclass, which is around buying a business, so a practical guide to buying your own business. That will all be shared with you soon. So thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Great job. Good work. Bye, everybody.